Probably about a year ago now, I woke up one day and I decided, you know what? I think I'm ready. I think I'm ready to embark on the journey to quitting nicotine. After 6 years of addiction, about a year ago, I woke up and decided, you know what? I think I'm ready to embark on the journey to quitting. And I say embark on the journey to quitting instead of just quitting because unfortunately, nicotine is a little bit too addictive to just wake up one day and decide to quit. Okay? Most of us who have nicotine addictions have to wake up one day and decide, all right, starting today, I'm going to embark on the journey to quitting. Because quitting nicotine is incredibly challenging and it's not something that happens overnight. So if you want to quit, you have to commit to the journey because quitting is going to be a journey. And so for the last year, I've been on that journey. And unfortunately, I'm not ready to sit here and say, I've fully quit. There's no chance I'll ever relapse. I'm done. I'm done for life. Because when I see people with a vape, I'm like, you're going to let me hit that, right? And then I hit it. And then I ultimately had nicotine. So, you know what I mean? I haven't fully quit, right? And one day I'd like to be at a place where I see someone hitting a vape and I don't ask to hit it. When that day comes, I'll sit down here and tell you how I got there. But until then, all I can discuss is the journey because that's where I'm at right now. I'm doing really well, but I haven't fully quit yet. I briefly paused this episode to let you know that this episode is presented by Westin Hotels and Resorts. Westin Hotels is designed with your well-being in mind. With more than 200 destinations around the world, Westin Hotels makes it possible to keep up with your wellness routine while traveling. With signature amenities and offerings that help you move well, eat well, and sleep well. And with their iconic next-generation heavenly bed, you can look forward to the rest. The worst part about traveling is how it impacts your sleep. Whether you're dealing with jet lag or not having slept on a flight, it can ruin a trip. Find wellness at Westin, one of the 30 extraordinary hotel brands in the Marriott Bonvoy portfolio. Now back to the episode. This journey has taught me a lot about myself, a lot about addiction. I've learned a lot. But I'd say through it all, the most significant thing that I learned was how truly intense my oral fixation is. Okay, I knew I had an oral fixation. I sucked my thumb as a kid. I love the vape. The vape is like a pacifier for me. It calms me down or whatever. I knew I had an oral fixation, but I didn't know how severe and intense and extreme it was until I embarked on this journey to quitting nicotine. And then I had months at a time where I didn't have any nicotine and the oral fixation didn't go away. The nicotine, I was able to quit for months at a time. The oral fixation has yet to waver, okay? I thought that I was addicted to nicotine for nicotine, right? Wrong. No, I think more than I'm even addicted to nicotine, and I'm really addicted to nicotine, I'm addicted to having an oral fixation, okay? Now, if you don't know what an oral fixation is, don't worry, I Googled it for you. An oral fixation is an unhealthy, obsessive behavior that involves the mouth. It can manifest as nail biting, thumb sucking, overeating, or smoking. It can be caused in infancy. Oral fixations can develop in babies who don't receive enough oral stimulation during infancy. It can also be caused by underlying psychological issues. Oral fixations can be a way to cope with stress, anxiety, or distress. I'm very anxious, so that definitely checks out. It can also be caused by conditions like ADHD and autism. People with ADHD or autism may have oral fixations as a way to calm anxiety, focus, or channel excess energy. I have yet to be diagnosed with ADHD or autism, but people on the internet like to tell me all the time that I am both and have both. So there's a chance. Anywho, that's a little bit about oral fixations, okay? And I'm not gonna lie, I might have the worst oral fixation problem I've ever seen. I've never met someone who has as much of an oral fixation problem, Okay. And people in my life are like, girl, what is wrong with you? Like, you really have an oral fixation problem. So it's not just like me self-diagnosing myself with a problem. Other people in my life are aware of it as well. And I think myself and my loved ones have known this about me for a long time. But this nicotine quitting journey has really just put it on display, because now I have new oral fixations that are less common than like sucking on a vape. And it's just abundantly clear how bad my oral fixation problem is. Anyway, but it's also caused me to reflect on my life thus far and see all of the signs clear as day now that hindsight is 2020, right? Like, I can look back now and say, wait a minute, that was a total oral fixation when I was obsessed with eating those popsicles every single day for like 2 years. You know what I'm saying? Like, all of these things don't just read to me as like quirky little phases anymore. I look back and I'm like, whoa, this has always been a thing. Like, there has not been a year in my life where I haven't had some sort of oral fixation. It's been a constant in my life. And I didn't even realize that. Like, I thought it was just, I sucked my thumb as a kid and then I vaped as a teen and young adult, and that was the extent of it. But recently I really analyzed my past and I was like, no, there were so many more. And so today I thought it'd be fun to go down the list of every single oral fixation I've ever had throughout my life and discuss them. So without further ado, let's begin. As I mentioned, my first oral fixation was my thumb. Okay. From the time I was born to the time I was 12 years old, I sucked my thumb. Most people stop sucking their thumb at like age 5. Not me. Not me. Okay. It started innocently when I was like a baby. I sucked my thumb and I rubbed a little blanket on my lip. Okay. That's how it started. And it was super precious and it was super cute, right? It's so cute when babies suck their thumb. How charming is that? Then I got a little bit older, and on Easter, I got a little stuffed bunny one year. And this little stuffed bunny, I named Biggie Big. And Biggie Big had really soft ears. And so I started sucking my thumb and rubbing Biggie Big's ear on my upper lip. Okay, so then that became my thing. And then that kind of remained my thing until I was like 12 years old. And it was one of those things that people didn't really know that I did, right? Like, starting even in preschool, the teachers did not let me suck my thumb. They were like, we don't allow this. You need to be growing out of this. It's our job to, stop these bad habits, these, infantile habits, whatever. So they used to take away my little stuffed animals and stuff during the day. I would have an absolute fit. But that's when I started to have to, have some restraint with the thumb sucking, because I wasn't allowed to do it, in preschool. And then obviously when I got to normal school, I really couldn't do it. It really wasn't allowed. But then I also started to have some sort of self-awareness. And I was like, ooh, no one else is doing it. Like, this is embarrassing now, right? And so it was just sort of this thing I did after school when I was home in my bed, relaxing. And there was nothing quite like it, okay? I was a very anxious child. I had horrible separation anxiety from my parents. And there was just nothing like getting home and sucking my thumb and rubbing Biggie Big's ears on my upper lip. Okay? It's like the same fucking idea as getting home from work and cracking open a cold one. Do you know what I mean? It's the same fucking vibe, just for like 8-year-olds. It's the same vibe. That's the vibe. Just a little something to take the goddamn edge off. And it was cute and it was charming until I started to get into the younger tween sort of ages, right? We're talking about 10, 11, 12. Then it started to get a little bit weird, right? It's like, what's going on, right? She was supposed to grow out of this and she's not growing out of this. What's going on? And in tandem with that sort of concern, my jaw and teeth were getting all fucked up because during my developmental years, I was sucking my thumb. My thumb was in my mouth for half of the day. Okay. Not the full day, because at school they wouldn't let me. But the second I got home, my thumb was in my mouth. Okay. And I was sucking along. That's half of my life. I slept with it in my mouth. Like, my thumb was in my mouth so much that it messed with my mouth. It messed with my jaw. And so I had this overbite, and I had this, I had a bunch of issues with my teeth. Okay. And my jaw. And the orthodontist I started going to was like, if you don't stop sucking your thumb, you're going to have to get surgery. Okay. So they ultimately put this metal cage in my mouth. I don't know how to describe it other than that. It was a metal cage in my mouth, and it prevented my thumb from going in my mouth. Okay. And then I had to get neck gear and head gear. There's all this shit. Okay. After years and years and years of braces, they fixed my jaw. Everything was fine. And I stopped sucking my thumb finally. For years following that, my mom would sometimes find me in my bed with my thumb in my mouth, and she would gently pull it out of my mouth, or so she told me. But then that was kind of the end of it. And for a long time, I thought that that was the end of it until the vape. But I was so wrong, because after I stopped sucking the thumb, I started sucking on cherry flavored cough drops. Yeah. Luden's cherry cough drops. Okay. I remember one day I found these in my dad's drawer somewhere. Like, he had this little medicinal drawer, and I don't even remember why I was in there. I wasn't doing anything crazy going in there, but I was sort of a snoopy sort of kid. I'd just sort of snoop around, and I found Luden's cherry cough drops, and I became addicted to those. And for quite a while, I sucked on those, and I absolutely love them. And they're delicious. Even to this day, I love a Luden's cough drop. But my parents sort of put somewhat of a limit on it from what I can remember, because they're like, this is kind of like candy, right? A Luden's cough drop is a sugar-based cough drop. And to eat one or two when you have a sore throat is one thing. To be eating them all day is another. And so, my parents let me have them. But specifically, I remember they were at my dad's specifically. But they definitely put limits on me. I would have eaten a lot more of them if I was allowed. But I also would do really weird things. Another example, I used to really love the flavor of mustard. And I remember one time, this to me feels in line with the oral fixation, because I really liked mustard because it was tingly and I don't know, it was fun to eat and fun to taste, because it was sour, and I liked sour things as a kid. I still do. And so I would sometimes just eat a spoonful of mustard. Again, so odd, but there was something about it that was sort of distracting and maybe soothing. I remember one time I was watching YouTube on my iPad. Okay. I was maybe 10, and I went into my room and closed the door with a bottle of mustard and a spoon. And I watched YouTube for an hour and just kept squeezing more mustard onto the spoon and eating it. Okay. That is weird, you guys. That's totally weird. Okay. That's a little bit weird. But that was another thing I did. I did that multiple times. Only once did I really sit there and pretty much eat the entire thing of mustard. That only really happened once. But I definitely used to squirt a little mustard in a spoon and slowly eat it. And it was sort of a little something to do. And then came the Warheads popsicles. Okay. So I used to live near a convenience store. Growing up, I lived near a convenience store, and my dad and I would go there all the time because, we needed batteries, or we needed, I don't know, we just needed something. So anyway, we were constantly at this convenience store. And I remember one day I walk in, and on display in the front, fully doing a promotion, loud in front of me, Warheads sour popsicles. And I said, Dad, get me 2 boxes. Okay. So I got these Warhead popsicles. Oh no. I can't remember. I need to call my dad and ask him. I think probably for 2 years, every day after school, I was sucking on these for the rest of the day. Okay. My dad and I had to walk to the convenience store like once every 3 days to buy more boxes of these popsicles. And that's something that would only ever happen at your dad's house with your divorced parents. Okay. Honestly, same thing with even the Luden's cherry cough drops. Like, that's such a dad's house divorced. Like, when your parents are divorced, going to your dad's is so chill. It's just chill. Like, you can do shit. The mustard thing, that was also happening at my dad's. All of these weird things were happening at my dad's because I was free when I was there. When I was at my mom's, she was like, Emma, why aren't you fucking doing the dishes or getting in the shower and scrubbing your ass? Like, hello, go fluff the pillows in the living room. Hello, do your homework. Hello, brush your hair. Like, I was busy. I was busy at my mom's because she was constantly on my ass. I always had shit to do. At my dad's, I was just chilling. So my oral fixations were really coming out. Anyway, I was obsessed with these Warheads popsicles. And it's so funny because they eventually like stopped selling them at the convenience store. And I craved them every day since. And I don't know, probably like 4 or 5 years ago, I decided to order them on Amazon. I found them on Amazon and I was like, let's go. And anyway, so I kind of got back into them for a period of time, but they weren't the same. At that point, I was already vaping. I didn't need a popsicle. You know what I mean? They still tasted good, but yeah, it wasn't quite the same. Okay, next oral fixation happened in middle school. Okay, I had this friend named Kate. I don't know why I'm saying her name. Kate, if you remember me, I'm talking about you. Kate always had cool stuff. I felt like Kate was one of those girls, like she always had cool pens or like yummy food at lunch, like trendy food. Like if Cheez-Its came out with like a new Cheez-It, like Kate always had them. Like Kate always had cool stuff. And I remember one day Kate came into history class and I saw her sucking on something. And we were friends. So I went up to her and I was like, what is that? And she gave me one. She's like, it's a coffee Rio. I was like, what's that? She's like, it's like a coffee flavored candy. I got it at the candy store. And there was like a candy store that was, you know, like a 15-minute walk from our school. And I was like, oh, okay. And I remember I tried it and it tasted like, okay, if you were to combine like a Frappuccino, like a Starbucks Frappuccino and a Tootsie Roll, and then make it a little bit harder, like a Jolly Rancher, like a little bit like texture in between a Jolly Rancher and a Tootsie Roll. So like kind of hard, but not as hard as a hard candy Jolly Rancher, right? And it tastes like a Frappuccino. It's like sweet, milky coffee, right? And you suck on it. It's like that, okay? Like it's, you know, maybe an inch and a half long, you know, whatever. I became obsessed, okay? Immediately after school ended that day, I walked down to the little candy store and I bought this candy store was like a bulk candy store. Like you could buy stuff in bulk. So they had all these different bins and you could like fill up a bag. So I went over and I filled up a massive bag filled with the coffee Rios. Okay, they're called coffee Rios. And for years, like for like probably the rest of middle school, I was constantly sucking on these. I was obsessed with them. And I actually have some at my house right now. I ordered them again online. I found them online somewhere and bought them. They're kind of rare. Like you don't see them around, but they're so good. Oh my God, they're so good. Like even today, they hold up. They're fucking delicious. But that wasn't my only middle school oral fixation, okay? Another discovery that I happened to discover from Kate. I don't know. Kate was an influencer, to be honest. Kate was influencing. Another oral fixation that came from Kate was one day she came to school and she had a sore throat. Okay. And she brought cough drops to school. Now, as we know, I already had a cough drop obsession earlier in my life. It was the cherry cough drops. Kate brought to school a cough drop that I had never seen before. Okay. This was I believe it was the Halls brand menthol minty cough drop. Okay. And I was like, what's that? She was like, it's so minty. And I remember like smelling her breath and it was so minty. And I was like she was talking to me and I could like, it was just wafting out of her mouth, the smell of this like insane mint menthol. And I was like, oh my God, can I try one? She was like, of course. Once again, Kate influencing me. I became obsessed with the menthol cough drop. I was more obsessed with the Coffee Rio candy, but I also absolutely loved the menthol cough drop. It was like a refreshing alternative. Because like the Coffee Rio was, you know, it's coffee. It like was kind of rich, you know, whereas the menthol cough drop was refreshing. Okay, next we have some oral fixations that actually my dad and I both shared. Like we both loved these, okay? And these were things that we enjoyed together. Number one, Shaun White gum. Okay, close your eyes and go back to 13 for a minute and remember the Shaun White gum, okay? It was like a sweet mint gum by the brand Stride, I think. And it was a collab with Shaun White, and Shaun White's face was on it. And I wasn't even into winter sports, okay, at all. I don't know why we tried the Shaun White collab gum. We didn't even really know who Shaun White was, but my God, did we love his gum collab. Wow, wow, wow. It was good. It was good. And we chewed that gum every day on the way to school for years and years and years. We'd be driving to school and we would be just chewing on that Shaun White gum. And you know what else we would have? Classic peppermint Lifesavers. Okay. The Lifesaver sucker mints. Okay. And those were nice because I could actually bring those with me to school and have them with me at school. And it was allowed because gum was not allowed at school. Okay. So I'd have to spit it out when I got there. But the Lifesavers, I could absolutely have at school. And those were all great. But definitely, like, I can't express to you, all of these different oral fixations were not just like little things I'd enjoy here and there. Or like things that I would use, you know, for like a functional purpose. Like I wasn't sucking on the cough drops because my throat hurt, right? I wasn't chewing gum or sucking on the mints because my breath was a bit sour. No, no, no. You know, I wasn't popping an occasional Coffee Rio candy for funsies. I wasn't having an occasional, like these were all like oral obsessions. And they all sort of have a through line in a way. Like they were really interesting to my palate. And they, all of them weirdly brought me peace in one way or another. Like they all sort of served some sort of weird emotional purpose, you know, like the ones that I'd enjoy in class made me feel, you know, less anxious at school. You know, the stuff that I'd have at home would help me decompress after potentially an anxious day. Like, I don't know. It just makes sense to me. And then I got a little bit older and I started enjoying orange Tic Tacs, okay? I don't really know when it started. Wait, the orange, I just remember, hold on, I just had an insane flashback and I have to share it, but I don't even know if it's accurate. I thought that the orange Tic Tacs started when I was older, but I just realized that they actually might have started in elementary school. So when I was like literally 5, 6 years old, I actually think someone had orange Tic Tacs in elementary school and gave me one. And I'm now remembering it. And I think that they said that they got it from church or something. Like they had gotten in like orange Tic Tacs from their church. This is such a weird memory. I can't remember it. Anyway, so now I'm realizing that I liked orange Tic Tacs when I was like 5 years old. I was still sucking my thumb then, but apparently I liked orange Tic Tacs then too. But when I got a bit older, I always had orange Tic Tacs in my car because I absolutely loved them. So that was something that sort of came back for me. I wasn't really addicted to them though when I was like 5 years old. I think I just liked them and then it became more of like an obsession later on. Now let's get to the dirty stuff, okay? After I was done with school and I was an adult living in the real world, even though I wasn't really an adult, I was still kind of a teenager. We started with the nicotine, okay? We started with the nicotine and I was just absolutely doomed from the start. I was so made for nicotine addiction because, you know, all forms of nicotine, cigarettes, vape, you know, nicotine pouches, even like dip, chew, all that stuff. Not that I'm dipping, but I've never even tried that. But all of that is very oral, right? And it's also, so it's like, not only is it oral, but it also is chemically addictive because of the nicotine. I was fucking doomed from the start. I never, ever should have even tried it. But I did. And it's funny because actually when I first tried it, I remember I first tried the vape when I was actually in high school and all my friends started to get Juuls. If you remember the Juul vape, you know, the chic little black one, right? You all know what a Juul is. A Juul. Everyone started using the Juul. Okay, it was like very popular. But at that time, I was very against it. I was like, I'm never going to smoke. That's disgusting. I would never do that. You know, when you're young, you find these things foul. And then a lot of times you grow out of it and then you grow to love them. Like I thought drinking was foul when I was in middle school. I was like, I would never drink. That is so like bad for you. And then by like, I don't know, the third month of freshman year, I was like getting drunk. You know what I mean? And it was the same thing with nicotine in vape at first. I was like, I'm not trying that. I'm not trying that. But I remember some of my friends started to get Juuls and then other of them started to get like box vapes, like the big, you know, box vape. And I remember my friends who had box vapes, they actually didn't have nicotine juice in there. It was like nicotine free. And I remember trying it and thinking it was kind of fun. And I would hit the vape in the car and it didn't have any nicotine. And then eventually I tried the Juul and I hated it because it didn't, I don't know, it didn't taste as good. Like the really sweet, like box vape was much more like yummy and fun. So, you know, and that didn't have nicotine in it. So I was like less afraid of it. And in high school, I never got into it. And everybody around me was using them. Everyone was addicted and I wasn't. And then again, I moved to LA and that's when I got addicted. I think I was under a lot more stress. I think I was having a hard time. Like I was working really long hours, which sounds insane. It's like, Emma, you're a fucking YouTuber. Shut the fuck up. I get it. But, you know, my YouTube videos used to take like fucking 30 hours to edit. And because they were really complicated edits and it was a really grueling process. And I would have a hard time sitting and editing for like 8 hours straight, which now that I'm older, I have less of a hard time with. But when I was like, I don't know, 17, it was a bit harder for me, 17, 18. So the vape really helped me. So I got super addicted to the vape, specifically the Juul, specifically Mango Juul Pod. Do we all remember the Mango Juul Pod? Listen, I don't think anyone should vape. I scream from the fucking rooftops, nicotine is the devil, don't touch it. But my God, I close my eyes and I think back to the Mango Juul Pod and I shed a small fucking tear, okay? Small fucking tear falls down my cheek because I think about the Mango Juul Pod. I think about the flavor. And I remember the sweet, sweet memories of my teenage years. I fucking loved the Mango Juul Pod, but they did discontinue it. Why? Because children like me were using them. Okay? Children like me. Wow. Isn't that just poetic? And I remember being like, why the fuck are they banning them? Like kids aren't even using them. Like it's like people like me, like teenagers. It's like, yeah, you're the reason why they're banning them, idiot. Anyway, so it was so funny. Like for majority of my vaping career, if you will, I was underage and it was always such a grind to get Juul pods. It was a fucking grind. Like I had to rely on others or, you know, get sneaky with it. It was complicated. But I made it happen. And, you know, for many years, I was very addicted to the vape and I didn't ever even really try to quit. It was just sort of a part of my routine. And, you know, I used various different types. I used the Juul for a long time on and off. I also used disposable ones that are probably worse for you than the Juul. I mean, the Juul is bad enough. It's all bad for you. But like the disposable ones that have like, that are come in like bright colors and like crazy flavors, those are radioactive, you guys. We have to stop using those. Let me tell you. I mean, they're absolutely incredible. They're delicious. But I mean, we must stop. And now they're coming out with the vapes that have like the screen on the side. If you know what I'm talking about, it's insane, you guys. We have to stop. But I've tried it all. My favorite was always the Juul. But eventually I got to a point where I was like, all right, I need to stop. Like, I feel like this is truly unhealthy. But I literally tried to quit vaping for like one day and I had such an insane mental breakdown that I was like, I can't do this. And so I got into the Zyn. And the Zyn is like a nicotine pouch. And for a long time, I absolutely loved the Zyn. It was like, it to me didn't feel as unhealthy. Do not take that as fact, okay? I don't want all of the ear, nose, and throat doctors, I guess just for the sake of the throat, but I don't want the ear, nose, and throat doctors to be like, excuse me, Or I guess it would be dentist or gum doctor. Anyway, I don't need doctors being like, Emma Chamberlain is spreading false information. She's saying that the nicotine pouches are healthier than the vape. No, it's not. They're all bad. I know they're all bad. But to me, I was like, all right, I'm letting something sit in my mouth versus inhaling something all the time. Like, this must be better. This must be healthier. And I felt like I was getting the buzz from the nicotine. I was really happy with that. And I honestly was like, I don't think I'm ever going to quit nicotine now. Like, I love these so much and they feel so much healthier. Like, how could these be bad? How could they be wrong? I'm not inhaling anything. It can't be bad. But then I went through a breakup and the breakup was tough and I needed some happy chemicals in the brain. So I started juuling again. I got a new Juul and then I juuled for probably like another 6 months. And then I was like, all right, enough's enough. Like, I started to get really bad health anxiety again about it. And I was like, I shouldn't be doing this anymore. So then I went back to the Zyn. And then in California, they banned the flavored Zyn. And I was like, God damn it. Now what? And I was kind of faced with that dilemma of like, now what? And that's when I sort of woke up and decided I need to figure something else out. And, I actually forgot to mention, there was a brief moment before I found the Zyn where I tried Nicorette gum, which is like nicotine gum. And I just wanted to say that I hated it. That I didn't mention it earlier because it never really became like a consistent part of my routine. But I tried it and I absolutely hated it. It didn't work for me. But anyway, so yeah, I ultimately got to the point where I was like, it's being discontinued in California. Like, I'm not going to be able to find it. But then also, like, I shouldn't be doing this shit anyway. And like, it's probably better if I just quit. And so that was when I came to the conclusion that I was ready to embark on the journey to quitting nicotine. And that sort of unleashed a whole new wave of oral fixations. I went cold turkey this time. In the past, like when I would quit vaping, I would go to the Zyn. But this last time that I decided I was going to quit, I didn't have that. It was just like, all right, I guess that's it. And so I was really, really desperate for oral fixations. So first I started with gum. Okay. And I was just buying like the average gum that we all know and love. Okay. Like, we all know the big brands. My particular favorite was Ice Cube's Icebreakers. That was the absolute best. But I also had a moment with I believe it was the brand Extra, and it was like Extra Mint Medley. It was like Mint Medley, and it came in like, a little, instead of coming in like a cardboardish sort of little pack, it came in a plastic box, and it was like these kind of crunchy on the outside, chewy on the inside, like minty sort of squares. It's kind of similar to an Icebreaker's Ice Cube, except it was hard on the outside and the flavor was a bit different. I don't know. Anyway, so I really enjoyed those gums. I also bought Sour Patch Kid flavored gum. Like, I was just buying gum left and right. Okay. And for a really long time, I was chewing gum, like 2 months, okay, of chewing gum. But I started to notice that I was getting really extreme stomach pain, like really bad. Really, really bad. And I knew what it was from. It was from the aspartame, which is the artificial sweetener in gum. It's really hard on the stomach. And it's not particularly a loved ingredient, right? Like, it's people who are health conscious do not like aspartame. It's kind of like the mass artificial sweetener. Like, they use it in Diet Coke. And it's not good for your gut. It's not healthy, right? And there's constantly articles about like how bad it is for you. And I've seen some things about people saying like it might be a carcinogen, but I haven't seen anyone confirm that. But I think it's banned in some places. Like, it's definitely not a great ingredient. And it makes sense. Like, anything that's that sweet but doesn't contain any sugar, there's gotta be, a catch. Like, we don't get anything for free in this life. So anyway, I experienced the catch, okay? And that was that it destroyed my gut, okay? In the beginning, when I first started chewing gum, it was fine. But eventually, after chewing, like literally, I kid you not, a piece from the time that I woke up to the time I went to sleep, like replacing the pieces every hour, probably chewing like 20 pieces of gum a day. Okay, maybe not, maybe like 12 to 15, but like a lot of gum. I think the aspartame eventually just like fucked with my stomach, or maybe like I don't know what happened, but something bad really started to happen and I started to get insanely painful gut issues. Like I started getting horrible cramps on a daily basis that were so bad that I literally got to a point one day where I was like, this cannot happen again tomorrow. And so I was faced with the decision, like, what now? And so I started chewing aspartame-free gum. And that actually fixed the problem. My stomach wasn't hurting anymore. But guess what? Guess what started to happen? I was chewing so much gum, I started to get jaw pain. Okay. And I also started to notice facial puffiness. And I was like, what is going on? Like my face started to look puffy and my like jaw was looking bloated. And I was like, you would think if I was chewing gum all day that my jaw would be like sharp, like it would be like insane, like the sharpest jawline anyone's ever seen. No. It made my face look very round and bloated, and it was not good. But I wasn't sure if that was what it was from. And so I just kept chewing gum, and my jaw progressively started to get worse and worse. And then I went into my orthodontist for like a routine sort of checkup because I'm doing Invisalign on my bottom teeth. I'm doing braces for the thousandth, millionth time. And I was talking to her about how I've been chewing a lot of gum. She was like, oh God, you might get TMJ, which is like some sort of jaw condition that you can get from chewing too much gum. And I think I started to get that. Not only that, but the aspartame-free gum like wasn't that good anyway. Like it did the trick, but it lost flavor very quickly. And that was kind of frustrating. Like I was having to put in a new piece constantly. And also gum is tough because you have to spit it out somewhere. And that like sometimes I didn't know where to spit it. Like I got to the point where I was like, the brand of gum that I was using came in like these little bags. And I would always keep an extra one of the bags, like an extra empty one of the bags in my like purse as well. And I'd spit the old gum into the empty bag and then grab new gum out of the full bag. Do you see what I'm saying? But people really found that disgusting. People who were close to me. I wasn't like spitting the gum out in front of strangers, like at a meeting. But like my loved ones were like, Emma, what the fuck are you doing? Like you're chewing gum all day long, spitting it into that little bag. Like it's really just weird. And the jaw pain got so bad. I was like, fuck this. What, like, I just need my oral fixation. For the love of God, where is it? And then I found my recent obsession, my recent oral fixation, which is the brand. I've talked about these before on the podcast, so I'm sorry that I sound like a broken record. The Pure brand aspartame-free Tangerine Tango Mints. Okay, these are just absolutely incredible. They remind me of the orange Tic Tac that I mentioned earlier, but they don't have aspartame in it. They don't hurt my stomach yet. They're my current obsession. The only problem with them is that sometimes they make my mouth raw because I literally suck on them all day long. But so far, they're pretty reliable. And I have one in my mouth all day long. I literally have the little tin with me of the little orange mints all day long. I order them on bulk on Amazon. I'm absolutely eating them all day long. And I like when I'm working, when I'm doing everything, I cannot leave the house without them. If I leave the house without them, I get anxious in the same way that I felt when I used to leave the house without the Jewel, in the same way that I used to feel when I would go on a trip and forget Biggie Big, my stuffed animal, which literally never even happened because I couldn't go a night without Biggie Big, my stuffed animal. And so that is my current obsession. In addition to another oral fixation, one that I have not discussed yet, that is my new obsession as of the last week and a half, 2 weeks. Okay. And that is minty flavored toothpicks. People have been recommending like flavored toothpicks, cinnamon toothpicks, mint toothpicks, nicotine toothpicks. They actually have nicotine toothpicks for years. And I've always been like, why would I want to chew on a toothpick? Do I look like a fucking cowboy? Do I look like a douchebag to you? Like, I don't want to chew on a toothpick. But actually somebody in my life who also on and off quits nicotine, uses it again, quits, whatever, was like, try this toothpick. And I was like, all right, why not? Tried the toothpick. Obsessed. Ordered so many of them. Obsessed with them. Absolutely popping the toothpicks. Now I switch between, I always either have a mint in my mouth or a toothpick. The only time I don't, I'm not even kidding, is when I record this podcast. Otherwise, I have a toothpick in my mouth. I'll tell you a funny story about the toothpick. So as you all know, I'm obsessed with hot yoga right now. I talk about it every episode. It's so embarrassing and so cringe. It's like, who fucking cares, Emma? Like, shut the fuck up. But I love yoga. And like 2 days ago, I was going to a 9 a.m. class. And on the way there in the car, I had a toothpick in my mouth and I kind of forgot. And so I walk into class and I check in, whatever. And I go into the room for the class and I'm sitting there on my mat, fully ready for class, like in my yoga clothes, okay? Like ready to go. And I still have my toothpick in my mouth and I was like, oh, that's kind of funny. I forgot to take it out, but it's still minty and the class hasn't started yet, so I'm just going to chew on it. And then I start chatting with somebody in there who I actually hadn't chatted with before. And she was like, okay, so it's 9 a.m. and you're chewing on a toothpick? Like, what is going on? Like, you look cool, I guess, but like, what's going on? And I was like, totally. And then I realized how fucking douchey it looks. I'm in yoga, in my like yoga clothes, and I have a toothpick in my mouth, and I'm like, what's happening? Anyways, loving the toothpick though. It's incredible. It's absolutely incredible. And, you know, I'm going to put in a toothpick after this. Oh man, I have one sitting right here. I might even put one in now. It is so freaking good, the toothpick. Yum. Oh my God. Yum. Little minty toothpick. You know, and the thing that's funny about the toothpick too is that it actually does, it kind of does look cool. Like it is douchey, but I have to take it out of my mouth because you can hear that it's in my mouth. But it's a bit douchey, but it's kind of fucking cool. I don't know. There's something cool about it. So I'm kind of loving it. Anyway, so aspartame-free orange-flavored mints and minty toothpicks are my oral fixations of today. Do I think I'll ever grow out of this? I don't know. It's interesting too, because like I also started drinking, this is another oral fixation, my apple cider vinegar in sparkling water drink that I've drank throughout my life on and off because my mom, you know, used to give it to me when I'd have a tummy ache. And I actually just grew to like it and liking the flavor. So I've, you know, on and off drank it throughout my life. For the last, like, I don't know, probably year since my nicotine quitting journey started, I've been drinking that more. And I think it's because that also is sort of an oral fixation. It's super sour. The vinegar is super sour. And it's like something satisfying for my mouth, you know? That's actually another one. I've talked about that a lot as well. That's another sort of obsession of mine. And I think it like weirdly makes sense. Like I have a coffee company. Why? Not randomly, but because since I was like a teenager, I've absolutely adored always having a coffee. I love having a coffee. I love that it's bitter. It's interesting for my brain. Like, you know, obviously it also is caffeine. So I love caffeine. I'm not anti-caffeine. And I mean, thank God for that, because again, I have a coffee company. If I had a coffee company and I was anti-caffeine, or I grew to become anti-caffeine, that would be bad. I'm not anti-caffeine. I actually don't think caffeine is bad as long as, you know, you are responsible about your intake, which I am, and we should all be. But yeah, like, I don't know. I think my love of like certain beverages, like I love fun beverages, because I love sipping on something that's like fun and interesting. I don't know. I think it all makes sense now. You know, like so many little things that I've loved over the years make so much sense to me now because of this sort of realization that I have the worst oral fixation out of anyone possibly on the planet. But you know, there's something kind of sweet about it. Like there's something kind of charming about the fact that like I always leave a trace because of my oral fixation. Let me explain. Like when I used to be obsessed with the cough drops or the coffee Rios, I was always leaving the little wrappers around. Or when I got a little older and I was vaping, I would always leave Juul pods, like empty Juul pods around. Like you'd find them in my bed and in my pockets and in my car and everywhere. And then, you know, when I was using the Zyn, I would fucking spit the Zyn everywhere, like in my car. Oh my God, this was something that was so bad. Like people hated this about me. People meaning like my loved ones. I used to think it was funny to, when I was driving No, oh my God. Why do I tell stories like this? This is the type of stuff where then you guys judge me and like bring it up for the next like year and say that I'm disgusting. When I was driving, I used to think it was funny to spit the Zyn, which was like a little, it's like a little nicotine pouch that I would put under my lip against my gums, right? I would spit it and try to get it to stick to my passenger side door window sometimes. I just thought it was funny. Like, it was like a funny challenge to see if it would stick. It's disgusting. It's so immature. I'm sorry. But anyway, there was always Zyns everywhere, like little Zyn pouches in my pocket, in my hair, in my bed. Like, my mom would like fucking be like, Emma, are you kidding me? And I would like give her a gift or something, or like buy her groceries, and there's like a Zyn in the bag. Like, it was just everywhere. With the gum, I constantly was spitting gum out. It was like my little thing, and now with the minty toothpicks, everywhere I go, there's just minty toothpicks all over everywhere. They're in my car. They're in my shoes somehow. How'd they get there? I don't know. But there is something kind of charming about how I always leave a trace because of my oral fixation. You know what? It could be worse. I'm excited for the day that comes when maybe I don't need any of this. I don't crave any of this. I don't want to hit a vape. I don't want to pop a Zyn in. I don't need a minty toothpick. I'm excited for that day to come, but my God, has it not come yet. And in the meantime, I'm going to enjoy my minty toothpicks and my aspartame-free orange mints in peace. And you know what? At least it's not nicotine. I don't think that these things are going to kill me, so that's better. That's better. Anyway, that was the overly detailed list of every oral fixation I've ever had my entire life. And I hope that you enjoyed it. And if you did, don't worry. New episodes of Anything Goes every Thursday and Sunday. I'll be back. Okay, we can hang out again if you want. And you can also find Anything Goes on social media at Anything Goes. And you can also watch on YouTube and on Spotify and listen anywhere you stream podcasts. And you can also find me on social media at Emma Chamberlain. And you can also find my coffee company at chamberlaincoffee.com or at Chamberlain Coffee on the toothpick's falling out of my mouth. At Chamberlain Coffee on social media. And at a grocery store near you, perhaps, if you live near a Target or a Sprouts or an Albertsons or a Whole Foods or something. Check the store locator on chamberlaincoffee.com to see if we're in a store near you. And that's it. That's all I have for today. A little trip down memory lane through the lens of my oral fixation. What a beautiful, beautiful way to take a trip down memory lane. I wonder what it'd feel like to not have an oral fixation. I may never know. All right. That's all I have for today. It was truly a pleasure as always. I absolutely love hanging out with you all. It's truly a joy for me, and I hope it's a joy for you. And I love you, and I appreciate you. And I'll talk to you in a few days. Oh my God, I'm just absolutely devouring my little toothpick right now. It's so delicious. I wish you guys could share this toothpick with me. Not this exact one, but I wish we could just sit together and have toothpicks together. So good. All right, bye.